Creatives are adaptable, resilient, passionate, and great problem solvers, just like what an entrepreneur should be. And yet artists and business people hardly get recognized as one and the same. Well, welcome to Bridging That Gap. Hello, fellow creatives, and welcome to the podcast Artist Takes on Business School. I'm your host, Mayara Maya, a self-employed life model who, upon graduating from her BA in Fine Arts, lost the love, admiration, and respect for the art world, but not for artists. This 2-year-long podcast will be tailored to my fellow creatives who want to build a sustainable and financially rewarding creative career without selling out. Get the behind the scenes, the insights, the knowledge, and the encouragement from people who know exactly how you feel. And of course, from entrepreneurial experts alike. So I moved to London specifically to study fine art. I'd gotten really depressed in Texas and decided to move in with my family who had come to London about a year beforehand. I did a foundations program where I was able to set up my portfolio, and I got really engaged and super enthusiastic about the entire process, and was actually able to get into a decent university. As I waited to hear back about my university acceptance, I did a little hustling to try to find some internships to kind of gain some experience. I figured, if I don't get into university, at least I have something to back up my CV, and then that can expand me farther. I was able to get one, and I was super excited. I was able to work with Henry Trocazzi, who is a sculptor here in London. He was needing an assistant, so he took me on as an apprentice, and I helped him with the construction of a chapel for I think it was Switzerland sculpture park. Now, when I finished that apprenticeship, and actually I continued working with them for years after, because I just started to get contracted to be like an assistant carpenter for one of the artists in the studio. And I did that for a few years, just kind of on and off. And I loved it. When I started my university degree, however, I went in with so much enthusiasm and a little bit of too much ego. Because I honestly felt like I was in my element. I was there with a purpose. I had kind of already, I had started university in Texas before, and was doing, all the partying and the fun stuff or whatever. So when I started university in London, I was already a bit older than the rest of the cohort, and came in with a very focused mindset of this is what I'm doing. I'm going to put in all of my efforts and just completely focus on my course so that I can, power through. And once graduating, I'll be a professional artist. I was super engaged and hopeful and focused, and that I was able to maintain that for a solid year. By the end of the course, I was left feeling confused and resentful and just demotivated and burnt out. Completely. It was a 360, would it be 180? It was a 180 shift in my mindset and how I felt about my situation. I'm going to talk about that today. Because as much as I came in as a super dedicated student, and I have always been quite a dedicated student, I think there was a lot of downfalls within the program. Now, do keep this in mind. My second year at university, COVID hit, so my studies were impacted by this, as many other students were. We all had to adapt and go through a change and learn how to use different softwares, how to implement curriculum that they had been using for years, how to implement that into an entirely new environment, right? And try to maintain it engaging and professional and all that. Well, something you should know about me, I'm not a big fan of social media in general. I went through a hiatus of 7 years when I was about 15. where I just kind of removed myself from it. I would maybe go on and dabble a little bit because there was, social pressure around me, but for the most part, I wasn't on it and I wasn't consistent, and I didn't see much benefit from it. It kind of just made me feel shitty, and I hated seeing everyone on their freaking phones like this when they're surrounded by people. So I just decided to remove myself. Once COVID hit, however, and everything went online, we were kind of forced to transition into social media as the way to promote our work, set up like exhibitions. And there was a big learning curve for me. I didn't even know all of the different things that you could do, just like on Instagram alone. And that enthusiasm that I had, that focus, that ego that I had when I came into the course, when I started the course, was completely muffled, I guess, by the overwhelm that I felt with having to be online and take care of that side. Now, I was fully aware that this, or it was kind of ingrained into my brain and other creatives' brains that we need social media in order to, progress with our careers. So I knew that there was this element of like, okay, I might as well just get on with it. I mean, my visa depended on it because, I was at uni with a visa. So I kind of just needed to get on with it. And I did. I studied the algorithms. I learned how to post and use like those automators to schedule posts and figure out keywords and all that jazz. And I even dabbled with like TikTok, which I thought was really fun, like all the different editing stuff that you could do with like short form videos. So that was quite engaging, but at the same time, incredibly overwhelming. And I didn't get the feeling that I was working towards anything substantial. Like at the end of the day, after scheduling my posts or, I would create these like enormous content calendars, I guess you'd call them, where I would see like a month's worth of my Instagram feed, just flat out, because I wanted to make sure that it was perfect, because I'm low-key a perfectionist, and it was just so much. I would like wake up at like 2, 3, 4 in the morning in a sweat, just completely drenched with this like crazy thought of like, oh my god, I forgot to like upload that video, or maybe the timestamp was wrong, or whatever the fuck it was. And that was happening on a regular basis. And at this point, I had only been doing it for a few months. So naturally, by the end of my course, I was completely burnt out. It was insane to me. And I also didn't feel like it led to much at all. Naturally, you could say that maybe it was, the fact that I didn't put enough work in the right areas for it to work correctly. But whatever the case, I stopped using Instagram again, or social media in general. I would try to stay sort of relevant, kind of post like more career-focused stuff, or, things that I'm creating, or seminars I'd go to. But eventually, upon graduating, because I was so kind of resentful with my entire university experience, I almost didn't want to be part of that world anymore. It felt really superficial to me, because I realized, even outside of social media, because I was a performance artist, I was already one standing out from like the rest of the cohort who were doing paintings or video work or, a bunch of installations and stuff. My focus was more on performative art. And I realized that the professors were really keen on that because it was different, and it was very in your face, the stuff that I would make. So I'd get a lot of praise for that, which, stroked my ego and made me feel good and maybe like I was in the right path. But it also eventually took me down a path of like, why? Just why am I making this stuff? And I realized after several months that it was not in alignment with like the original mission almost, or the original desire to create. It didn't feel right. I was telling stories and I was very engaged with what I was making when I had to make it, because deadlines for me are almost crucial, but it wasn't fulfilling. And I guess by the time I graduated, I was just confused with what I wanted to do with my life. I felt like I wasn't taught things that I needed to be taught, And I see in retrospect now that, I would have maybe really benefited, and maybe the entire cohort would have really benefited from kind of being, taught how to actually, market ourselves better, how to even like network or set up our own events, which, to be fair, was a part of their curriculum, but COVID kind of got in the way of that. But I still feel like there could have been more focus on it in general, or regardless. And at first I was frustrated that the university didn't teach me like hands-on creative skills. Like, we didn't really have, for example, color theory, or they didn't teach us how to paint in a specific style, or we didn't really study from like the masters, which I got really annoyed at that. I felt like what I paid for, useless information, things that I could have gotten on YouTube, and I probably could have gotten it better. But as these 2 years have passed, I've noticed that even if they had taught me all of that, even if I was like a master painter now, I would still be missing the business side of this, because it is, right? We go into art university with this desire to become professional artists, or to like move up in that path. But upon graduating, it kind of just felt like the world was flat and I had no tangible skills to provide or to show for. And so I lost faith in the education system in general, or further education system, I guess. And I've only noticed a growing theme of this, like, kind of resentment towards the art world and the art market, art education, how there seems to be like a skills gap almost. And if you're looking to go into art education or university, I would highly suggest you to focus on a more specific type of education. Mine was incredibly broad. It was just a fine arts degree. We were encouraged to do a bunch of different things, but we were only shown how to do certain things, and only a very limited amount of each of those things. And a lot of it was just conceptual and writing essays and thinking about what we're creating, which I love because I enjoy writing essays. But if you're already like disengaging with your creative side, or like your inner mission and your soul's desire to create, it just feels pointless. It feels pointless. There was a point where I wrote an essay. It was like a major essay I was supposed to turn in about how to take care of adopted cats, because I realized that they couldn't tell me that I couldn't do that. Because I realized actually from the first year of my university, I was told by one of the students, like, as long as you know how to bullshit your way through, like, if you know how to do that, you'll be fine. Like, it's like the easiest thing ever. And I think that really is exactly what happened. And everyone kind of knew that. There was a very small amount of people in my class that really pushed themselves out of their comfort zone, and, they were already forward thinking. And naturally, a lot of them were mature students, like 30 and up, who have come from a different path in life, or kind of already know how the world works. And so they saw all of the places that university was lacking, and they just filled in, as they needed. So like some people would maybe get like internships, or, just kind of network better, which I think, I just felt so pissed off at my situation. I had regularly wished that I had chosen to go a different path for my education. So yeah, I'm starting a master's in business now. Actually, specifically, I'm doing a double master's in entrepreneurship and innovation, that's the first one, and international marketing, which will be my second master's. I'm doing that with the forethought. I'm aware that I was super against, further education. I was dead set on not doing another BA or continuing my studies into an MA. I was so dead set on it. But my circumstances kind of changed, where my visa is going to end in October. I was starting to build a business, and I'd been engaging in business activities. I've been self-employed for a few years now. I've already had that pull I decided to just look into a master's in business specifically, because I noticed that there was a skills gap for me, which was really impeding me from continuing building my own business. So I thought, if I'm able to bridge the gap there, I think I would be a lot more prepared to launch my own thing. So that's the hopes. I was able to find an MA that is super practice-based. So if you're interested, if you're on a very similar path, I highly suggest you stay connected with me. I will be sharing basically the curriculum that I'm going through, how I'm implementing that within a creative practice. I also aim to be interviewing professors and other students. So stay tuned, and hopefully you'll get some value out of what I'm doing. Peace. Hey guys, thank you so much for listening this far. I really hope that it was not too atrocious for you. These first, 5 to 7 episodes that I'll be uploading to launch this new podcast, well, they're kind of like test runs, and, hopefully you'll just get to know a little bit about me, how I think, my experiences in life, and what kind of brought me to the point that I am in now. I'll be starting my master's in entrepreneurship and innovation at Holt University, Holt International Business School, in September, so in just over a month. I've lined up some exceptional guests for you, though, which I'm very excited about, because my network has completely changed and expanded within a matter of a month, which is insane. But I've lined up 5 different interviews that will be coming out, or I'll be launching for you to stream in August. And this is just a little message from your host, Mayara Maya, letting you know that there's a lot more to come and a lot better to come as well. But I needed to put in the reps, you know how it is. It's new. If anything, if you end up watching this after I've already launched, after there's already some interview things, don't even bother. You'll get to know me through the other episodes, the more finessed ones. This is more me just trying to put in the reps, get into the flow of things, understand how it works, and just get more comfortable to speak in front of the camera. Or in front of the mic. I have a camera, but whatever. It's fine. Sweet. Peace and love, and I hope you have a wonderful day, night, afternoon, weekend, week ahead of you. Much love. Ciao, ciao.